Good morning, everyone. It is Rollie. And if you're catching the replay, hashtag replay, let me know that you're catching the replay. So today is Wednesday, which means that we are coming back with another session of Chatting with Wisdom. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Rollie Allaire. Gigado Migun Kwe is my spirit name, and I'm your host for Chatting with Wisdom. Chatting with Wisdom is a weekly interview series featuring amazing women. There are different ways that women are amazing, and we're going to celebrate that. I invite you to join me in my private Facebook group, Mind, Body, Heart, and Soul Connection. And you can also find a similar group on Telegram that I have been using to share positivity this year. So today I'm really excited to be welcoming Constance. So Constance Woulard is an emerging force in the national and global community. She recently collaborated with Dr. Cheryl Wood and the legendary Les Brown in the Unlashing Your Undeniable Impact Anthology and speaking tour November 2021. She is the co-author of The Women Who Pray Collectively, Igniting 90 Days of Prayer. Ms. Woulard is a featured author of The Heart of a Leader. She is also the co-author of Sister Leaders. Apparently I can't read today, so apparently I can't read it many days, but she is the co-author of the Sisters Lead Anthology and the co-author of More Precious Than Gems, She Knows Her Worth Anthology. She collaborates with leaders by assisting them with clarity, core values, prioritizing well-being, and effectively communicating to resolve leadership dilemmas. She is dedicated to motivating and empowering others to be their best. So welcome, Constance. How are you?
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
So I am excited to have you back and having this conversation. So we're talking about igniting fierceness, self-confidence through mindset transformation. So
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I am a native of Gulfport, Mississippi, and this igniting fierceness and self-confidence is something that's very near and dear to my heart because often we sell ourselves short due to invalid validation of others. Because, acceptance, a lot of times, especially when we're growing up, acceptance is a big deal and it's very important to us. And so we listen to what others tell us and it gets fixed in our mind. And we accept that and believe that when really what others may have been saying to us may not be true. Mm-hmm. And that within each of us, there is fierceness. We have to learn how to tap into that and to transform our mind, because that's where everything happens, here in the mind. And if someone can control your mind, they are able to control you. So we must control our own minds, change our own minds to ignite that fierceness and the self-confidence within us. And so, yes, it can be done. That's who I am. That's what I'm all about. I strive to help others to do that, because there is something divine within each of us. We just have to tap into it, embrace it, and run with it.
There absolutely is something in all of us, and one of the things that I really love is being able to connect with women around the world, so including you, where we actually get to tap into that. And so a lot of times I have people that come on and say, yeah, well, she's like, so yeah, Constance, like there's no way that I can be anything like Constance. Like she's a co-author in so many books. She's an author of her own books. She has like all these other programs and like she's got so many things on the go. So like, there's no way that little old me can actually accomplish any of these things. So how do you address that when women are coming from that perspective?
What I say is my favorite term: do you boo?
I love that.
Okay, because yes, maybe I'm doing this. That's what God is destined for me to do. But look at what you do great. You do things great that I can't even begin to fathom. Yeah. So everybody's different. And he created us all different for a reason. Okay, so just because I have, done 6 books, oh, well, you've raised maybe 6 children that are successful. Mm-hmm. Everything that we do in life is important. So it doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what current station in life you are at the present time, there is a fierceness within you. There is greatness within you. You just have to recognize it, embrace it, and do you, boo.
I love that. I love that saying. And because we are completely different than everyone. And I'm not sure how many siblings that you have, but I have 3 younger sisters, and we are all different. There's not anything that is similar to us. Like, there may be a couple of like little things, or like we might have certain little quirks or things like that, but for the most part, we are all completely different. And
Exactly.
so I have one sister who is absolutely incredible in terms of her artistic ability. Is that like, so one of the things that happened is we were going, she calls it driftwood shopping. And so she said, hey, do you want to come with me? And we can go and take a look at some driftwood and go pick up some driftwood. And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I'm walking along and she's like, you're not picking anything up. Well, all I see is sticks. I only see sticks. And she's picking up pieces and she's carting them underneath her arm. And she's like, yeah, but look at this one. This one here has a moose head on it. And look at this one. And I'm like, it's a stick. I don't see the moose, right? So like, it's all those different ways of us being able to figure things out from that perspective and how we're actually going to be able to do things. And so, so I love that. Do you, boo. And
Yes.
So that's beautiful.
And I enjoyed the story you just told about the driftwood shopping. That's a great analogy, because each piece of driftwood has its own uniqueness. So just like that driftwood, we are the same.
Yep.
We all have our own uniqueness. And so just like a camera lens, when you change the focus of the lens, you can see things, the same object, differently.
Yeah.
Okay, so from your camera lens, you're like, well, hey, this is just a stick.
Yep.
No, but from your sister's lens, it was a thing of beauty. Yep. And a piece of art. So that's the amazing thing about it. Uniqueness. Understanding uniqueness and why it exists, because, you know, everybody does not like the same thing. Mm-hmm. So if God had made us all the same, what a boring world this would be. What a boring, really, you know, what a boring life this would be if you only had one way of doing things, or, you know, one thing to look at, everything's the same every day of your life. What a boring life this would be. So uniqueness, diversity, they exist for a reason. Embrace them.
And it really is. And so when somebody's getting started, so they're like, okay, so I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to ignite that fierceness in me. So what's one of the first steps that they have to take?
One of the first steps that I recognize, you know, I tell people and recommend that they do is really search within yourself. Who are you? What do you like? What are your dislikes? What are your fears? Examine yourself and examine yourself fully and be honest with yourself. And learn to enjoy yourself and enjoy your own company. That's one of the things that, you know, I really enjoy. I enjoy my own company. You know, I take myself out to dinner when I want to. I go to the movies alone. I spend a lot of time alone when I have free time because I enjoy my company. And so we all need to do that. And before we can fully understand ourselves and learn to love ourselves, we really can't love anyone else without it. And so that's very important. And affirmations, daily, sometimes twice daily, whatever you require. Affirm within yourself your worth, your beauty, how amazing you are, how fantastic you are. And I have sticky notes that I have around my bathroom mirror, and I read those every day. I write affirmations every day. I start my day off with a new affirmation. Whatever is on my mind at that moment, I write an affirmation. And those things help you to build and boost your self-confidence and to know who you really are and ignite that fierceness. And so that's what I recommend people do. Really be honest with yourselves and search within yourselves and learn yourselves.
And I really love how you've said is being able to like create those affirmations. And so, and again, we're going to hear from people that say, well, yeah, but I don't know how to create those affirmations. And so if you don't know how to create those affirmations, then find one. There's like zillions of them out there, and you do a Google search, and they're out there.
They're there.
And so if you
There's
find
a
them,
wealth of resources out there.
Yeah.
There is. And scripture, anything that you're looking for, Google that in scripture and just say scriptures on self-worth, scriptures on integrity, whatever. And you would be amazing of the scriptures that come up that will address those topics. That's a good starting place. Now, I realize everybody does not believe, and so they may not want to search the scriptures. There are other things out there on Google.
Yeah.
But if you really, yes, everyone is capable of writing an affirmation. Just whatever is on your mind at that moment when you hit the floor, write it down. Write it down. So if you wake up and say, man, it's raining today, it's going to be a yucky day, write that down. And then you look at it and say, how can I flip this where it will not be a yucky day? And begin to write. It's within each of us. We just have to learn how to tap into it and make it happen. And it can happen.
And it's practice, right? So like It didn't happen for most of us. We weren't just raised where we've come up with these positive affirmations. It's about being able to shift that thinking. And kind of fits with the rest of the title, right? So through mindset transformation, changing the way that we're looking at things from that glass half full as opposed to that glass half empty.
Exactly.
And so it's raining today. Well, what is great about the rain is that it's going to, that means that it's not snowing in our neck of the woods.
Yes.
But it also means that things are going to grow and that we're going to have that the plants are going to be nourished. And so there's lots of things that can come from that beautiful rain. Even for those who are in the rainy season, that they have rain all the time, is that there's still some positive ways of being able to look at it. Is that I get to stay indoors today because it's raining a lot or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. And if you have time, get out in the rain and just walk in the rain.
I love walking in the rain.
Just get out in it. It can be a very self-healing and cleansing process. Just get out in it. Because what rain does, like you said, it does help crops to grow and it provides nourishment. But rain comes as a cleansing process. And it's the residue, that's left from the rain that brings about the positivity and the change.
Yeah.
It really does.
So, and it's really beautiful. And that's what I was saying, is that I love walking in the rain. And so, in a nice warm rain in the summertime, and it's a beautiful experience, or at least it is to me. The downpour, that's not something that I want to be in.
No, me either.
Simply because it's not comfortable and it's wet and it's cold typically.
Yes.
But like a nice light rain and going. And so when I used to run, that was one of the things that I would do, is like, if it started raining, it was like, yes, beautiful day for a run, because it actually allowed you to be able to stay cool while you were running and gave you that and that part of it. And I love that that positive ion changes, because it does really make a difference in terms of the chemistry in the world. And so it also helps with yourself as well, is that changing those negative ions to positive and helping to be, and maybe I'm saying that reversed from a chemical perspective, but it really does have that, like you said, it has that washing over you and that cleansing and that connection. So yes, and it can also be renewing, because for me, if I have nothing to do, when it rains, that's the best time to get a good nap. Yeah. And when I wake up from a nap that I have taken during a rainstorm, I am just so relaxed and calm and refreshed. So rain has many powerful principles. Well, and benefits. And it really does. And it has that change and that shift and how to be able to kind of change things. So so how do we actually get to build that confidence, right? So how can we actually get to building that self-confidence so that we can take the next step? So creating awareness is one of the first things. And so how do we build so that we can actually be confident? Well, for one, the affirmations, as I mentioned earlier, and you have to do that several times. You just can't say, get up this morning and say it, and that's it.
It's a process. It is a process, and you have to do it. Each of us are responsible for building our own self-confidence. No one can do it for us. Now, yeah, someone can pay you a compliment, and that may help. But in the long run, we are all responsible for knowing our self-worth and building our own self-confidence. So it's a process, and you have to just continuously affirm within yourself that, hey, I got this. Hey, I'm wonderful. I'm beautiful. I'm worthy. I know I can accomplish this because I have the wherewithal and the knowledge and the strength to do this. So it's all about, again, that mindset, and reaffirming within yourself that you are capable of doing certain things. And I know for me, I do my affirmations, and again, it's a process. But I know that when I walk in that boardroom on Monday morning, there's a shift in the atmosphere. I know that I am in control. I know that because I have affirmed that within myself, and there is no doubt and there is no shame in my game. When I walk into that boardroom, I'm in control. I am in command. And that's what we have to do. That's what we have to do.
And it really is that practice, right? So, and I love how you said, like, it's not going to be like, you can't just do it today and then it's going to be all good tomorrow.
Exactly.
And it's not a magical wand, right? So there's not anything that just abracadabra, here it is, and everything's great. And I said it once and everything's good, right?
Right. And I'm years deep in this thing, but just because I'm years deep into it, don't think I don't have my moments too. And I have to catch myself and stop myself and say, okay, girlfriend, I have to reel myself back in. Okay. Now, you know where you came from. You know what you have done. And you know what you are currently doing. Okay. So how are we going to fix this?
Yeah.
I'll talk to myself just like that. Okay, girlfriend, how are we going to fix this? And that's what we have to do. We can be our own worst critic, but we have to be our own best friend at times too, and our own motivator and encourager. That's very important because we cannot depend on encouragement from others. It has to come from ourselves. So we have to know how to encourage ourselves and how to motivate ourselves. And I know for me, if I've had a bad day, I can come home, go into my kitchen, and just start cooking. And that frees my mind, that gets me focused and back on track. Okay, well, I travel a lot, so can't cook the way I want to sometimes. So then I put on music and I listen to music, and I listen to inspirational songs. And that's how I encourage myself. Sometimes I pick up a book and I don't take time to look at the title of the book. I just pick it up and start reading it. And every time, regardless of what the book is, I find a passage of some kind that makes me think and say, okay, it's okay. It's going to be okay. And so that's what we have to do to ourselves. We have to identify our triggers and then find ways to reel ourselves back in.
And like you said, like, this is like, you're years deep into this. And so I often hear people say, Rollie, you're such an inspiration, but it's like, there's lots of things that I've actually taken to be able to do that. And there are, like you said, some days that it's like, yeah, I'm in the sinkhole right now, and I need to pull myself up, and I need to find a way of being able to pull myself back up again. And so those things are really important for us to be able to remember, that even when we've actually been on this path, we're doing really well, and then all of a sudden we've sunken down, doesn't mean that we can't get back up again.
Exactly. You can always get back up again. You can always start over. I can remember being in school learning to write. And the teacher would say, no, not quite. Start over. Not quite. Start over. Better. Start over. And I would get mad, and I'm like, well, darn, what does she want me to do? But every time I started over, I got better. And the same thing with challenges and struggles in life. Okay, you didn't make it this time. Start over. Start over. And I promise you, if you don't give up and you keep starting over, Each time you start over, you perfect the process. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You can always start over. Some people say, well, I've reached this point in my life and I can't do it. No, you can always start over.
So one of the statements that I really I love hearing is when people are like, yeah, well, you can't teach old dogs new tricks. Have you met an old dog? Because I'm pretty sure that you can teach them new tricks, right?
Exactly. So, and that's just, to me, that's just one of the oldest myths and sayings out there. Anybody can learn.
Yep.
It doesn't matter. Learning is a lifelong journey. And so,
if we're
yes,
not
you can teach some old dogs new tricks. You can teach some young dogs some old tricks. You can do it.
Yep. Absolutely. Yes. And if you're not learning, you're not moving through and you're not living, right? So like you're in that stump and you're doing the same thing over and over again. If you're not learning something new, then you're not being motivated. You're not being able to, you're not challenging yourself. You're not still taking that next step. So, and I love one of the other things that you said is when I'm having a bad day, being able to just open up a book and whatever passage that happens to pop out at you is like that message, right? So that's the message that you need to be hearing today, because life is full of messages. There's lots of, and it could be from a book. It could be from like walking down the street. It could be something that somebody says. And one of the things that I always think is really cool is that when somebody's talking and then all of a sudden this light bulb comes on, you may have heard the same statement 50 million times from like billions of people, but yet one particular person says it on one particular day and this light bulb comes on. It's like, hey, something great and grandiose has just happened, right?
Yes. And it happens all the time. Sometimes for me, I can be riding along and a billboard sign. And I'll see something on a billboard and I'm like, I never thought about it like that. It can be just the tiniest thing that can trigger your mind and make you think and bring about that aha moment.
Yep.
And it could be something you've seen before or heard before or even heard your whole life. But it's just the presentation of it at that moment. Either the presentation of it or just the time of occurrence that will trigger something in your mind. And you're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I get it now. And that's what life is all about. It's a lifelong journey. We can learn from each other. It's just things happen. And that's what life is about. It's just things happen. You learn things by chance, or you hear things by chance, and it just happens.
Yep.
And that's how we all bring it together.
And it really does make that difference, right? So like,
yes, it does.
When we can actually take a look at what it is that's going on and listening, and it's listening within ourselves. So something that is right for us today may not be right for somebody else today. And so being able to like really connect within ourselves and being able to have that confidence. And a lot of people that I work with are people pleasers. They want to make sure that everybody else is happy. And so it's making sure that everything is convenient for somebody else. And it's like, so when do we take a look at making sure that it's convenient for us? When do we take a look at making sure that, because we are the only person that is constant in our lives. People come and go, people live and die, people like move away. There's like so many things that happen with other people. We are the only person who starts with us at birth and ends with us at death.
That's right. That's right. And so it's just, but I like to call it just learning to live your best life every day. Regardless of what's going on. If Monday you eat a ham sandwich, but Tuesday you have the pleasure of eating a lobster, the ham sandwich is of no lesser value or enjoyment than the lobster.
Yep.
Just live your best life each day, regardless of what it is, be it the ham sandwich or the lobster. It's your best life and enjoy it. Make it your best life every day.
And I love that statement. So, because it really does, like, how can we look at that? And so kind of takes us back into, like, in terms of that mindset, takes us into that gratitude. So I think gratitude plays a huge part in that mindset. What are your thoughts about that?
I agree. Just being thankful in every situation, just being thankful, because things that seem so great and mighty to us if you look at someone else's life, what we're going through is minimal. So just being thankful in every situation makes a difference.
And there's always something to be thankful for, even when we're having like the worst scenario, the worst experience ever that is going on in our lives. There's still something that we can actually be grateful for. So like, even for example, when someone dies, right? So yes, it's very sad and it's horrifying that something has happened to them. And especially if it was something tragic, but like, what was our experience with them?
Yes.
And that's one of the things that we hear when we go to funerals. And it's like we end up hearing people talk about like all the great things about that particular person. And sometimes we forget. And so when we can actually take a look at that from our own lives and our own perspective is, so what's grateful right now in this moment? What is it that is, so like if we were going to look back at this particular memory, what was something great that happened right now, right? So what was that experience? What was that thought? What was that thing that was actually going on? And I think that makes a huge difference.
And I like what you just said about going to funerals and when someone passes away. I can say personally for myself with both of my parents, it's the legacy, that they left. And that's what strengthens me every day. And, I watched my dad, he was a great dad, but I watched him be a grandparent. And so now that I have a grandchild and I'm like, okay, the legacy that he left me, showing me how to be a grandparent, that's what's important, that legacy. Yeah. So every situation, something good comes out of it, every situation.
And absolutely. And I love that. Is there anything else in terms of another tip that you think that would be really relevant or really important for people to know before we head out today?
Just another thing is surround yourself with like-minded and like-hearted people. If you surround you're trying to make a difference in your life and to ignite that fierceness and build your self-confidence. If you're around someone who's not supportive of that, you need to distance yourself immediately.
And I think that's probably one of the hardest things to do, isn't it?
For some people, not for me, but for some people.
But I think that probably has come with practice, right? So
yes, and so whatever you're doing, if it's a new endeavor that you are striking out on, whatever, if you're not with someone who's supportive, you're not going to make it very far.
Yeah.
You need to distance yourself. You really do. And just surround yourself with supportive and like-minded people. That's very important.
It really is. So can you tell me a little bit about what people can do to be able to work with you? So like, how do they work with you? How do they connect with you?
Sure. Well, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn. And I'm also on Instagram at Anointed Educator. My website is posted there. You can reach out to me there. And I do a variety of things. If it's the mindset transformation that you want or the image consulting that you need, you can reach out to me for that. I also have an upcoming anthology that I'm working on now, and I'm looking for contributing authors, and it's called The Invisible Soul. And so what this anthology is about, I'm looking for people to tell their story about times when they were maybe in a low place and they were able to break that glass ceiling. And now they have ignited fierceness and self-confidence, or they overcame a struggle or a challenge that they had. My struggle was with childhood obesity. And so that's where, that inspiration came from. But people from different walks of life, we have different stories. And so the whole goal is to reach people, help them to heal, and help them to build some self-confidence.
Beautiful. So, they can find all this information on your website, or?
Yes, they can. It's on my website, and it's also on my social media pages.
Okay, beautiful. So, is there anything else that you wanted to end with before we head out?
Yes, to everyone listening, go out there, be your best, and do you, boo.
Beautiful. I love that. And so do you, boo, is definitely something that I really think is incredible. So I love that statement, and I'm actually going to be using that as as an affirmation. I'm going to be putting it up on, because I too have
boo. Yes.
I have sticky notes all over
Mhm.
where I sit, and so do you, boo. I love that, and so I'm actually gonna post that one on my wall. So thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, in the description of wherever it is that you are listening to this or watching this has the links to be able to connect with Constance. And so thank you so much for being able to share your wisdom and
Yes. And thank
and
you
your
so
knowledge.
much for having me. Thank you so much for having me. Great opportunity.
Okay. Thanks everyone. And I will see you guys next week.